This happened about 16 years ago, back in 2005. I was 10 years old. Even now, as an adult, I don't really like Halloween. I'll hand out candy, I'll see the costumes, but I don't decorate my house. I just can't. It all goes back to that night. A few days before Halloween, I was at school talking to my friend. We'll call her Olivia. Olivia was just a normal girl. We were in the same class, we traded snacks at lunch, typical 10-year-old kid stuff. We were talking about what costumes we were going to wear, and I was excited. But then she got this weird, serious look on her face. She just looked at me and said, "This year on Halloween, your life is going to change." I remember I kind of laughed, thinking it was a joke. "What am I going to get, $1 million candy bar?" "No," she said, and she wasn't smiling. "I'm serious. Everything is going to change for you." I just brushed it off. It was weird, sure, but kids say weird things. I didn't think about it again. Not until later. Halloween night came, and it was completely normal. My mom took me and my little brother trick-or-treating around the neighborhood. It was 2005, so we still had Blockbuster. After we were done, our candy bags were full, and my mom decided to take us to rent a movie as a treat. I remember the smell of the plastic cases and the popcorn at that Blockbuster. We had a Nissan Maxima at the time. It was a dark blue sedan, and it was fairly new for us, so it still had that new car smell. We drove home, talking about the movie we were going to watch. We had rented a couple, but I clearly remember the one we picked, The Legend of Zorro. When we got home, my mom decided it would be best to watch it in her room. We all piled onto her bed, but something was wrong with the DVD player in her room. It kept making this clicking sound, and the movie just wouldn't play. After fiddling with it for 10 minutes, my mom gave up. "All right," she said, "let's just go to the living room." So we all trooped out to the living room. Our living room had this open space layout, so it was connected to the dining area, which then faced the kitchen. We had a little dog, a terrier mix named Peggy, and she had her little bed and food bowls in the corner of the kitchen where she could see us. We put the movie in, and it worked. We settled onto the couch, dumped our candy out, and started watching. We were maybe halfway into the movie, right around a big sword fight scene, I think, when Peggy just started barking. It wasn't her normal "someone's at the door" bark. This was endless, high-pitched, and frantic. We tried to shush her. "Peggy, be quiet." My mom got up and looked out the front window, but there was nothing there. "Maybe she sensed a cat outside," my mom said, sitting back down. But Peggy didn't stop. She was standing in her spot in the kitchen, but she was facing the wall that connected to our garage. She was just staring at that wall and barking like her life depended on it. We didn't think anything of it. Like I said, she barked at everything, so we just turned the volume on the movie up a little louder. Finally, the movie ended. The credits were rolling. My mom got up from the couch, annoyed but also a little worried now. "Okay, what is wrong with you, Peggy?" She walked into the kitchen to check on our little dog. I was just focused on putting my candy wrappers in a pile. Suddenly, my mom started to panic. Her voice went high. "Oh my God, there's smoke." I looked up. She was pointing at the door to the garage. A thin, black line of smoke was curling out from under the door. My mom didn't hesitate. She grabbed Peggy, tucked her under one arm, and yelled, "Get out! Get out of the house! Go next door!" We ran. I didn't even grab my shoes. We sprinted out the front door and onto the neighbor's lawn. My mom was pounding on their door, yelling for them to call 911. Somehow, in all the chaos of running next door, Peggy got scared. She wiggled free from my mom's arm, hit the ground, and just bolted into the darkness. "Peggy!" I screamed. I tried to run after her, but my mom grabbed my arm. "We have to stay here," she cried. I was only 10, so the rest of the night seems kind of blurry, like a bad dream. I remember standing inside our neighbor's house, watching my own house through their front window. It wasn't just smoke anymore. Bright orange flames were coming out of the garage. It was terrifying. The fire started at around midnight. The fire department got there fast, but it felt like an eternity. We could hear windows breaking from the heat. It took them 4 hours to put the fire out completely. My dad didn't live with us, so it took him a couple of hours to get there after my mom called him. He showed up and just stood with us on the sidewalk, watching the firefighters spray down the smoking, black skeleton of our house. I was just thinking about Peggy. I was so sure I would never see her again. I was sitting in the back of my dad's car, wrapped in a blanket the neighbors gave me, and I was so sleepy, but I couldn't stop crying about my dog. After the fire was completely out, one of the firemen came over to my dad. He asked if we needed anything else from the house, if there was anything critical they could try to find. My dad nodded. "Yeah," he said. "I left my good jacket in the living room closet when I was here yesterday." "Is it possible to get it?" The fireman said he'd look. He and another firefighter went inside with flashlights. A few minutes later, my dad went to talk to them near the front door. I was just staring out the car window feeling numb. Suddenly, my dad approached the car. He opened the back door. He had his jacket, which was soaking wet and smelled awful. And in his other arm, he was holding Peggy. She was covered in black ash and soot, and she was shaking, but she was alive. I just burst into tears all over again, grabbing her and holding her so tight. "Where did you find her?" my mom asked, her voice breaking. "On the couch," my dad said. The living room couch was completely burnt up. He said he found her huddled in the corner of it, right where the springs were. She had run back inside the burning house, past the firefighters, and hidden in the one place she felt safe. Our couch. I was so happy. Out of all the chaos, she was okay. I knew, even then, that she had saved us. If she hadn't started barking at the garage, we would have gone to sleep. The fire would have spread from the garage to the rest of the house, and we would have been trapped. We were all sitting in the car, just trying to figure out what to do next, when my friend's words popped into my head. "This year on Halloween, your life is going to change." I got a cold, sick feeling in my stomach. She was right. My life did change. We had just lost our house. We had nothing except the clothes we were wearing and our dog. A few days later, we were staying at a hotel. The fire investigators had already been there and said it was arson. Someone had intentionally set our house on fire. They'd poured gasoline all along the garage door. I was talking to my dad, and I don't know why, but I told him what Olivia had said to me at school. At first, he looked at me like I was just a confused kid, but I kept repeating it. "She told me, Dad. She said my life would change on Halloween." I saw something click in his eyes. My dad had recently installed a new security camera system. It was 2005, so this was not common. It was a grainy, black and white, wired system, and he was really proud of it. The fire had destroyed the recorder, but the hard drive was in a fire-resistant box in his study, which was on the other side of the house. The investigators managed to recover the hard drive. My dad told me about it later. He sat me down, and his face was pale. He said they watched the footage from the camera pointing at the driveway. Around 11:30 p.m., while we were watching Zorro, the camera picked up a person. It was too dark and grainy to see a face, but you could see them carrying a bottle. They walked right up to our garage. They patrolled around the side, looking at the house, and then came back to the garage door. The person unscrewed the cap and just started dumping the contents of the bottle, gasoline, all over the base of the garage door. A few moments later, there was a bright flash as the fire erupted, and the person ran off down the street. My dad told the police about what I had said, about my friend Olivia's prediction. The police went to her house. They questioned her, with her parents right there, and she admitted it. She was 13 years old. She told the police that she was jealous of me. Jealous of what? My family? Our new car? I still don't know. She confessed that she had asked her older friend, a teenager who lived in her neighborhood, to scare my family. But when the police pressed her, she finally admitted the whole thing. She had asked him to set our house on fire and burn the whole family alive. Those were the words she used. Burn us alive. The police arrested her, she and the teenage boy who actually lit the match. I never saw Olivia again. My family moved to a different town after that. We rebuilt, but it was never the same. To this day, I am astonished at how my life really did change on Halloween night. I think about that broken DVD player in my mom's room. If it had worked, we would have been in a different part of the house, maybe asleep. We might not have heard Peggy. I think about my dog, barking at a wall, sensing the danger we couldn't. And I think about a normal 10-year-old girl who, out of simple jealousy, tried to have my entire family murdered. That's the part that really haunts me. Not the fire, not the flames. It's knowing that the monster wasn't a guy in a mask. It was a little kid I shared my lunch with. I've been a state police corporal for about 15 years now, working mostly in a mid-sized town in Michigan. My name's Jeff Oldham, and yeah, that's the same name you might have seen in some old news clips about this case. I don't talk about it much, but since you asked, I'll lay it out as it happened. No fluff, no made-up drama, just what I saw and felt that day. It was Halloween season, late October, and the whole thing still messes with me when the leaves start turning. First off, let me tell you about my kids. I've got two. Hazel, who's 8, and little Max, who's 5. They go nuts for Halloween. Hazel's all about the costumes. She wanted to be a witch this year, complete with a broom and a pointy hat we picked up at the dollar store. Max is obsessed with pumpkins. He draws them everywhere and begs me to carve one every night after dinner. We live in a quiet neighborhood where everyone decorates their yards with fake spiders, gravestones, and those blow-up ghosts. This year, I plan to wrap up my shift early, around 4 p.m., and take them trick-or-treating. I'd promised Hazel we'd hit the big houses on Elm Street first, the ones that give out full-size candy bars. For Max, I was going to surprise him with a glow-in-the-dark skeleton outfit. After that, we'd come home, watch some kid-friendly spooky movie like Casper, and stuff our faces with Reese's. It was supposed to be a fun night, you know? Just family time to shake off the job. That morning, October 29th. Wait, no, it was actually the 28th, but close enough to Halloween that decorations were everywhere. I started my shift at 6 a.m. like usual. Grabbed coffee from the station, checked in with dispatch. It was a chilly fall day, fog hanging low over the roads, leaves crunching under the tires. Nothing out of the ordinary. I patrolled the main routes, handed out a couple of speeding tickets, and helped an old guy change a flat. Around 9 a.m., I got a call from a neighbor on County Road 12, a moderately busy stretch with houses on one side and woods on the other. The caller sounded freaked out. There's a body hanging from a tree across from my house. I thought it was fake, but it's not moving right. I radioed back that I was on my way, flipped on the lights but no siren. Didn't want to cause a scene if it was just some over-the-top decoration. County Road 12 isn't a highway, but it gets steady traffic. Commuters heading to work, school buses, and delivery trucks. People drive by at 40 to 50 miles per hour, glancing at the scenery. As I approached, I saw what the caller meant. There, in a big oak tree right by the roadside, about 15 feet up, was what looked like a mannequin dangling from a thick branch. Rope around the neck, body limp, swaying a bit in the breeze. It was positioned so you could see it clear as day from the road, no leaves blocking the view this late in fall. I pulled over, parked my cruiser with the hazards on, and walked up closer. At first, even I hesitated. Halloween was just days away, and folks around here go all out. I'd seen setups with fake bodies and nooses, bloody axes, the works, but something felt off. The mannequin was dressed in regular clothes, jeans, a gray hoodie, and sneakers. No fake blood, no goofy expression, and the way it hung was too real. The skin tone wasn't plastic shiny, it looked pale, almost bluish. I called out, "Hello? Anyone there?" No answer. Then I noticed the rope. It was real hemp, knotted tight, not some cheap prop string. My stomach dropped. I radioed for backup in the corner right away. Climbed up a bit using the lower branches to get a closer look. Yeah, it was a woman. Mid-40s, I'd guess. Eyes open, staring blankly. No pulse, body cold. She'd been there a while. I secured the area, taped off the road, and started talking to the neighbors while waiting for the team. The first guy I spoke to was the one who called it in. His name was Tom, lived right across the street in a blue ranch house. He was shaking a cigarette out of his pack as I approached. "Man, I saw it at breakfast," he said. "Around 7:30, eating my eggs, looking out the window. Thought it was one of those decorations, you know, like the ones they sell at Home Depot. My wife even laughed about it, said it was creepy but cool for Halloween." I nodded, jotting notes. "You didn't think to check?" He shrugged. "Why would I? It's that time of year. Cars were driving by, nobody stopping. I figured if it was real, someone would have called sooner." Turns out, a bunch of people had seen it. The road gets morning rush, parents dropping kids at school, folks heading to the factory downtown. I interviewed a few more neighbors later. A lady named Amy, 2 doors down, said she noticed it while walking her dog at dawn. Looked like a prank, she told me. My kids love that stuff. We've got a skeleton hanging in our yard too. Another guy, a truck driver who passed by around 8 a.m., pulled over when he saw my cruiser. I honked at it. He admitted, looking embarrassed. Thought it was funny, like scaring the dummy. Didn't realize it hit me then how messed up this was. This woman, later identified as Linda, 42, from a nearby apartment complex, had climbed that tree sometime late Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning. She'd tied the rope, jumped, and just hung there for hours, while people ate breakfast, sipped coffee, and listened to the radio. Kids on school buses might have pointed and giggled. "Look, Mom, a Halloween ghost." And nobody stopped, because it blended right in with the season. We pieced together her story from her ID and phone records. Linda had been going through a rough patch: divorce, lost her job at the local diner, and depression. No note, but her sister confirmed she'd been talking about ending it. She lived alone, no kids, picked that spot maybe because it was public, or maybe just convenient. The tree was old, sturdy, and easy to access from the woods side. By the time the coroner arrived around 10:30, we'd blocked traffic both ways. They cut her down carefully, bagged the rope for evidence, ruled it a suicide on the spot, no signs of foul play. But standing there, watching them lower her body onto the stretcher, I felt this chill that wasn't from the wind. It wasn't just the death. I've seen plenty in my line of work: car wrecks, overdoses. It was the indifference. How easily something so horrific could hide in plain sight. Like, what if it had been one of my kids walking by? Or what if no one ever called? She could have dangled there till dark, blending into the night decorations. I wrapped up the scene by noon, filed the initial report, spoke to the media briefly, kept it factual: apparent suicide, body mistaken for decoration. Didn't mention how it gnawed at me. Drove back to the station, but my mind kept replaying it. The sway of the body, the empty eyes, and all those cars whizzing past, oblivious. Shift ended at 4, like planned. I headed home, trying to shake it off. Hazel and Max were waiting, bouncing with excitement. "Dad, can we go now?" Hazel yelled as I walked in. My wife Karen gave me a look. She knows when a call's gotten to me. "Rough day?" she asked quietly. I just nodded, didn't want to spoil the mood. We got the kids dressed, Hazel in her witch getup, Max as the skeleton. I threw on a fake mustache and a cowboy hat, nothing fancy. As we hit the streets, the neighborhood was alive. Jack-o'-lanterns flickering, kids screaming with laughter, parents snapping photos. But every decoration I saw twisted in my head. A fake spiderweb looked like rope. A hanging ghost prop made me flinch. We passed a house with a dummy and a noose, and I had to look away. "Cool," Max said, pointing. I forced a smile. "Yeah, buddy. Real cool." Trick-or-treating went okay at first. We filled their buckets with candy, hit Elm Street like I promised. Hazel traded chocolates with a friend, and Max munched on a lollipop. But as it got darker, the fog rolled in again, just like that morning. Streetlights cast weird shadows. I kept glancing at the trees lining the road, half expecting to see something real up there. Karen noticed. "You okay?" she asked. I told her about the call, kept it vague, no details for the kids. She squeezed my hand. "That's awful. But we're here now." Back home, we dumped the candy on the table, sorted it while Casper played on TV. The kids were hyped, arguing over who got more Snickers. I tried to join in, but my thoughts drifted. What if Linda had chosen a different day? Would someone have noticed sooner? Or what if it happened here, in our neighborhood? Kids are mistaking it for fun. It made Halloween feel wrong. Not the costumes or candy, but how we dress up death like it's a game. That night, after tucking them in, I couldn't sleep. Lay there staring at the ceiling, hearing the wind rattle branches outside. Karen asked if I wanted to talk. "It's just people saw her and did nothing," I said, because it looked like part of the holiday. People talked about it at the station. How crazy, how sad. But for me, it stuck deeper. Every Halloween since, I take the kids out, carve pumpkins, and watch movies. But I check the decorations twice, and I make sure we avoid anything too realistic. No hanging props in our yard. Hazel's 13 now, still loves dressing up. Max is into zombies. This year I'm planning a backyard bonfire after trick-or-treating, with s'mores and stories, but nothing too scary. Just family stuff. Looking back, that case wasn't supernatural or anything. No ghosts, no killers. Just a real tragedy that slipped through because of the season. But that's what makes it horrifying, the way normal life can ignore something so broken right in front of it. If you're out there decorating this year, maybe think twice about what you hang up. And if something looks off, even a little. Call it in. You never know. I've always loved Halloween. I mean, really loved it. It's the one night you can be anything or anyone else. Back in 2008, I was 19, and the entire world was obsessed with one thing: The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker wasn't just a movie role, it was a cultural event. So, naturally, when Halloween rolled around, I knew exactly what I was going to be. I spent weeks on that costume. I didn't just buy a cheap mask. I got the purple trench coat, the weirdly patterned vest, and the hexagonal shirt. I spent hours practicing the makeup, trying to get that smeared, chaotic, lived-in look. I even dyed my hair a stringy, sickly green instead of opting for a wig. By the time October 31st hit, I thought I looked amazing. The plan was simple: meet my friends David and Harper, hit a few house parties, and then head to a massive costume contest at a club downtown called The Asylum. Cheesy, I know, but it was the place to be. The night started exactly as you'd hope. The city was electric. You couldn't walk 10 feet without bumping into another Batman-related character. I must have had at least a dozen different Batmen, from the 60s Adam West to the all-black tactical Christian Bale, get in my face and yell, "Where is she?" or "Why so serious?" It was a blast. Every interaction was this fun, in-character bit of street theater. I was exchanging fake maniacal laughs with other jokers, tipping my head to Harley Quinns, and booing every cop I saw. I was feeling confident and just loving the energy. Around 11 p.m., we were at a crowded house party in a part of town I didn't know too well. It was loud, hot, and packed. I went to the kitchen to grab another drink, and when I came back, David and Harper were gone. I figured they'd just gone to the bathroom or stepped outside for air. I waited. 10 minutes went by. 20. I tried calling, but the music was so loud I couldn't hear anything, and my calls went straight to voicemail anyway. The party was starting to feel less fun and more like a chore. I was annoyed. I decided to just ditch them and meet them at the club. The Asylum was only about 10 blocks away, but I was in an unfamiliar residential area. I pulled out my old flip phone, this was 2008, remember, to check Google Maps. The route it showed me involved a lot of winding side streets, but I saw a straight shot. There was a long, narrow alley that cut directly behind a row of businesses and seemed to pop out right onto the main street where the club was. It would cut the walk in half. Looking back, it's always the stupid, impatient decisions that get you. I told myself it was fine. It was Halloween. The whole city was out. What was the worst that could happen? The alley was narrow, dark, and smelled like stale beer and old garbage. It was a perfect cliché. The only light came from a single, flickering orange security lamp about halfway down and the bright glow of the main street at the far end. My footsteps echoed on the wet pavement. I was about halfway through, past the flickering light, when I saw him. He was standing in the shadows just ahead, perfectly still, blocking the path. He was dressed as Batman. And it wasn't a cheap costume, this was legit. Molded armor, a serious utility belt, and a heavy-duty cowl with pointed ears. He was a big guy too. Broad shoulders, tall, he looked the part. My first thought even then was awesome. I was still in that party mode. I grinned, getting a line ready. "Well, well," I said, trying to pitch my voice a little higher. "Look what we have here. You're a long way from home, Batsy." He didn't move. He didn't speak. He just stood there, his back to me, facing the alley wall. A little flicker of annoyance hit me. "Hey man, nice costume," I said, my voice back to normal, "but you're kind of in the way." I moved to squeeze past him on his left. "Excuse me," I said. The second I was level with him, his arm shot out like a steel trap. He didn't grab my shoulder. He grabbed my throat. The speed was terrifying. In one motion, he had me by the neck and slammed me against the opposite brick wall. My head cracked against the brick. Not hard enough to knock me out, but hard enough to make the world flash white for a second. Stars exploded behind my eyes. The air burst from my lungs. I tried to yell, but it just came out as a choked wheeze. His grip was unbelievable. This was not a drunk guy messing around. This was pure, focused violence. "What?" I gurgled, clawing at the thick, armored glove around my windpipe. He leaned in close. The cowl was dark, but I could see his eyes. They were wide, bloodshot, and absolutely insane. The smell hit me then. Not just beer, but cheap whiskey. A sour, pungent wave that made my stomach turn. He wasn't yelling, "Where's Rachel?" or any Batman lines. He was just growling, a low, animalistic sound from deep in his chest, and he started to squeeze. My brain went into pure, white-hot panic. This wasn't a game. This wasn't fun. I was being murdered. "Please," I choked out. I can't breathe." His other hand came up and slammed into my stomach. Not a punch, just a hard, brutal shove that pinned me even tighter. He was so strong. My feet were barely touching the ground. I kicked, but my shoes just scraped uselessly against his armored shins. I raked my fingernails against the side of his cowl, trying to get at his face, his eyes, anything. He didn't even flinch. Black spots started to dance in my vision. The bright glow at the end of the alley seemed a million miles away. I was going to die here, in this disgusting alley dressed as a clown. My lungs were on fire. My head felt like it was going to explode. I had maybe 10 seconds of consciousness left. In that last desperate moment, my brain, starved of oxygen and flooded with terror, did the only thing it could think of. I stopped fighting. I let my hands fall away from his glove. I let my body go limp, and with the last pocket of air in my chest, I forced out a sound. It was a laugh. It wasn't a Joker laugh. It was a horrible, wet, gurgling cackle. It was the sound of a man being strangled to death. It was insane. It was the most terrifying sound I've ever made. It broke his focus. I saw it in his eyes. The psychosis flickered, replaced by a momentary flash of confusion. What the hell? The guy he was killing was laughing. His grip loosened, just a fraction. But it was enough. I didn't knee him in the groin. I didn't do anything heroic. I just brought my right hand up as fast as I could and jammed my thumb as hard as I possibly could into his eye. He roared. It was a sound of pure agony. His hands flew open, dropping me. I hit the pavement in a heap, landing in something wet and foul. I didn't care. I just gasped, dragging in the filthy alley air. It felt like breathing fire. I looked up. He was clutching his face, his big body hunched over. But he was already turning back toward me. He wasn't running. He was furious. He took a step and I saw him reach for his belt. He wasn't pulling out a prop. He pulled out a knife. A real 6-inch combat knife. I didn't think. I just ran. I scrambled to my feet and sprinted for the end of the alley. I was clumsy. My legs felt like jelly and my throat was screaming. I heard his heavy booted footsteps pounding the pavement right behind me. He was fast, even for a big guy. I could hear him breathing, that same whiskey-fueled growl. He was right on my heels. I burst out of the alley onto the main street and collided head-on with a group of people. I went down, taking 2 of them with me. It was a group of girls dressed as I don't know, a witch, a nurse, the usual. I was hysterical. I was on my hands and knees, my green hair matted with sweat and God knows what else. My makeup was a runny, tear-streaked mess. I looked up, pointing back into the darkness. "He has a knife!" I screamed, my voice a raw, broken croak. "Batman, he tried to kill me!" The girls just stared at me. A few other people walking by stopped. They looked at me, this pathetic, crying Joker on the sidewalk. Then they looked at the alley. There was no one there. He was gone, vanished back into the shadows. "Whoa, man," said a guy dressed as a pirate, helping me up. "Looks like you had one too many, huh?" "No, you don't understand," I pleaded, my voice cracking. "He had a knife. He tried to choke me. People were looking at me with pity or annoyance. I wasn't a victim. I was a problem. I was the drunk guy in a Joker costume ruining their night with a bad story." "Sure, man, sure," the pirate said, patting me on the back. "Batman's a bad dude. Why don't you go get some water?" The girls I had knocked over were already walking away, laughing. "Crazy," I heard one of them say. I just stood there, shaking, my throat feeling like it was closing up. I was surrounded by hundreds of people, and I had never felt more alone in my life. I never made it to the club. I just walked aimlessly for an hour until I found a 24-hour diner. I sat in a booth, still in my full costume, and just drank coffee until the sun came up. My friends called me a dozen times. I didn't answer. What would I even say? I went to the police station the next day. The cop at the desk looked at me, my green hair faded, and a collection of dark purple bruises blooming around my neck, and tried to be professional. But I could see it in his eyes. A guy in a Batman costume attacked you in an alley on Halloween night. They took a report. They said they'd look into it. I never heard from them again. It's been years. I don't love Halloween anymore. I can't even watch those movies. Because I know the truth. Masks aren't just for fun. For some people, they're an excuse. They're licensed. That guy wasn't playing a character. He was just using the one night of the year when he could be his real monstrous self, hidden in plain sight. I don't know if I was his first or if he'd done it before. I just know I was lucky. My stupid, panicked laugh probably saved my life. But the scariest part, the part that still keeps me up at night, is this. I was almost murdered by Batman, and nobody even blinked.